Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something that will echo not just through this moment, but through the rest of your life. The message is urgent. The call is clear. Chosen one, listen, or regret the rest of your days. Do not turn away. There comes a time in every life when the voice of God breaks through the noise, when heaven itself whispers or shouts into the soul, now is the time. This is your moment. Too many delay, too many shrug off the very word that could change their destiny. If you are here, if you are listening, it means you have been chosen to hear this call today, not tomorrow, not someday, today. And I tell you this, when God calls, the only tragedy greater than saying no is pretending you never heard him. For to turn away is to walk into a life of regret, a life haunted by the what if that never leaves. But to listen, to truly listen, is to step into the destiny that was written for you before the foundation of the world. My friends, if this message spoke to you today, don't just let it pass. Take action. Be part of the chosen few who rise above the crowd, not the 99 who scroll away and forget. Hit that like button as a declaration that you choose strength over weakness, purpose over distraction. Subscribe so you never miss a word that could transform your tomorrow, and drop your comment below to share your fire, your testimony, your voice, because your words could be the spark someone else is waiting for. Remember, greatness is not for the passive. It's for those who step forward. Step forward today. The chosen moment is now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, not in some distant season when life feels more comfortable or when the circumstances finally line up. It is now. There are countless voices that tell you to wait, to postpone, to put off until later the decisions that matter most. But later never truly comes, because every tomorrow turns into another today. And if today is wasted, tomorrow will be wasted too. Chosen moment is not found in the shadows of procrastination, nor in the illusions of someday. It is here, in this breath, in this heartbeat. Every great destiny begins not in the far-off horizon, but in the instant when a person chooses to respond. Abraham was called, and he left his land not after a lifetime of planning, but when the call came in the now. Moses encountered the burning bush, and the choice stood before him, not tomorrow, but in that moment, barefoot before holy ground. David was anointed while still a shepherd boy, with no crown, no throne, no palace, only the presence of God and the urgency of now. Each of them could have delayed, each of them could have reasoned for more time, but destiny does not wait for convenience. The chosen moment is now. Too many people miss the fullness of their calling because they are always waiting for the perfect time. They think, when I have more strength, then I'll rise. When I have more clarity, then I'll step forward. When my life feels stable, then I'll answer. But those are illusions of the enemy, chains disguised as excuses, whispers designed to rob you of the one thing you cannot replace, this moment. What you do with now shapes what follows. What you choose in this second ripples into eternity. The chosen moment is not in the past you cannot change, nor in the future you cannot grasp. It is the present, and it is demanding your response. Consider this: every heartbeat is a gift. Every breath is a miracle. Every sunrise is an invitation. And yet, how easily do people let moments slip through their fingers, thinking there will always be another chance? But the truth is that the most dangerous word you can ever speak to your calling is later. Later becomes never. Later becomes regret. Later becomes the shadow that follows you into the night, reminding you of the opportunities you refuse to seize. The chosen moment is now, because now is the only moment guaranteed to you. Tomorrow is a promise never spoken by heaven, only by the arrogance of men. Yesterday is gone, sealed, written, but now it lives, it burns, it pulses in your hands. God moves in the now. He speaks in the now. He calls in the now. To delay is to turn away. Postpone is to lose what was placed before you. The chosen one is marked not by endless preparation, but by the courage to rise when the moment arrives. And that moment is now. Turning away leads to regret. The greatest sorrow of life is not found in what we could not control, but in what we could have chosen and did not. Every missed opportunity, every ignored calling, every door we refuse to walk through becomes a weight carried in the heart. Regret is the silent echo that follows when we turn away from the voice that spoke to us, the path that was opened, chance that was laid before our feet. It does not fade with time. It does not dissolve with age. It grows stronger, more haunting, more relentless. Turning away is never the end of the story. It is the beginning of a lifetime haunted by what could have been. There are countless people who live with the shadow of regret because they once heard the call, but said, not me, not now. They turned aside, they hardened their hearts, they sought comfort over courage. And years later, they replay that moment in their minds over and over, knowing that everything could have been different if only they had chosen differently. Regret is not born out of ignorance, but out of willful avoidance. The one who never knew may grieve what they missed, but the one who knew and turned away bears the heaviest burden. Deep down they know the truth, that the chance was theirs, but they refused it. The enemy does not always try to destroy by direct attack. Sometimes he whispers, walk away, do it later. Another time will come, and people obey that lie, thinking they are choosing safety, when in reality they are choosing regret. They think they are avoiding discomfort. They are planting seeds that will grow into sorrow. To turn away may feel easy in the moment, but it is a decision that never leaves you. It follows you in quiet moments. It speaks in the silence of the night. It confronts you in the reflection of your own soul. Look at the scriptures. Esau traded his birthright for a bowl of stew, and though he lived, though he prospered in the eyes of men, his heart was scarred with regret. Judas walked with the Messiah, saw the miracles, heard the voice of life itself, yet turned away for silver. And when the weight of regret came crashing upon him, he found no rest, no peace. The greatest pain of all is not the suffering of hardship, but the torment of knowing you turned away from the path of life. Regret has a voice, and it says, you could have, you should have, but you did not. And once that voice takes root, it cannot be silenced by wealth, by success, by distraction. No achievement, no earthly pleasure can erase the agony of a moment lost forever. The world is full of people who tried to cover their regret with business, but when the night falls and the noise fades, regret rises again, demanding to be heard. To turn away is to choose a future chained to the memory of that decision. To turn away is to exchange eternal purpose for temporary ease, and the trade is never worth the cost. Your destiny demands a response. It is not enough to simply know that you were created for a purpose. It is not enough to feel the stirring in your spirit or to sense that there is something greater. Destiny is not passive. It is a summons, a calling, a voice that insists you rise. To remain silent, to remain unmoved, to remain unchanged is to deny the very reason you were placed here. Path of destiny is not walked by dreamers alone, but by doers, by those who hear and respond, by those who say yes when the moment arrives. Every destiny ever fulfilled was born in a decision. Noah did not simply hear the warning of the flood, he built an ark. Abraham did not merely receive the promise, he left his homeland and walked into the unknown. Esther did not just recognize the danger facing her people. She stepped forward and said, if I perish, I perish. Destiny demands more than awareness. It demands a response that costs something, a response that moves you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Without response, destiny is only potential, and potential without action becomes wasted seed. Truth is that every soul is given the gift of purpose, but not every soul responds. Some hear the whisper of heaven yet remain chained to fear. Some see the door open but refuse to walk through it. Feel the fire of calling but pour water on it because the flames seem too consuming. And in the end, They wonder why their lives feel empty, why they sense something missing, why they are restless though surrounded by comfort. It is because destiny spoke, but they did not answer. Destiny is relentless. It will not stop calling. It will echo in your heart when you try to drown it out. It will rise in your spirit when you try to ignore it. It will stir your soul in the quiet hours of the night when no one else is around. You can resist it, but you cannot erase it because it was written into you before you were born. The question is not whether you have a destiny. The question is whether you will respond. And the response cannot be halfway. To respond to destiny is to step fully, to risk, to trust, to surrender the lesser so you can embrace the greater. It is to lay down excuses, to silence doubts, rise when every part of you wants to stay seated. The response will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Destiny demands courage because without courage there is no obedience, and without obedience there is no fulfillment. Every moment of hesitation, every delay, every step back pushes destiny further away. But every step forward, no matter how small, brings it closer. The enemy's greatest weapon is not to deny you have a destiny, but to convince you that you do not need to respond today. Yet destiny does not wait forever. It demands that you answer. It demands that you move. It demands that you rise to what was written for you. God's call cannot be ignored. It is the voice that cuts through the noise, the whisper that pierces the chaos, the sound that reaches deeper than the world's distractions. You may try to silence it. You may attempt to drown it out with entertainment, with work, with business, with the endless noise of life, but it will still be there. The call of God is not like the call of men. It does not fade when you refuse to answer. It grows louder, stronger, more insistent until it confronts you with a choice you cannot escape. From the beginning of time, God has called his people, and every story of faith begins with that call. Adam heard it in the garden. Abraham heard it in his homeland. Moses heard it in the desert. Samuel heard it in the night. Isaiah heard it in the temple. And Paul heard it on the road. Each one had the option to turn away, but the call was not something they could ignore. It disrupted their plans. It shook their comfort. It demanded a response. God's call interrupts because it will not bow to convenience. It will not submit to human schedules. It will not wait for a season when you feel ready. Many try to run from the call, but no one outruns the one who calls. Jonah boarded a ship to flee. The storm followed him into the sea because the call was greater than his fear. Jeremiah tried to protest, saying he was too young, but the fire of the word burned inside him until he could not hold it back. The call of God is not subject to your excuses or your weakness. It does not retreat because you feel unworthy. It does not dissolve because you feel unprepared. God knows your weakness, yet still he calls. God knows your failures, yet still he speaks your name. To ignore his call is to invite restlessness, for nothing in this world can satisfy a heart that was awakened by his voice. People try to fill the void with wealth, with pleasure, with recognition, but none of it is enough. The voice of God lingers. It pursues, it waits, it reminds you that you were made for more. You can try to bury it under layers of ambition or distraction, but it will rise again like a seed pressing through the soil, refusing to die. His call is eternal, and eternity does not surrender to the temporary. There are many voices in life that you can afford to ignore. The voices of critics, the voices of doubters, the voices of fear, those you can cast aside, but the voice of God cannot be treated the same way. For to ignore it is to risk your very destiny. It is not just a suggestion. It is not just a gentle idea. It is the summons of the Creator who knows you better than you know yourself. His call is not bound by your circumstances. It is not silenced by your failures. It is not hindered by your past. It comes because you were chosen, and what God has chosen, he does not abandon. Obedience opens the door to purpose. It is not talent alone that unlocks destiny. It is not knowledge, not opportunity, not even passion by itself The hinge of purpose swings on the act of obedience. You can be gifted beyond measure. You can be surrounded by open doors. You can have vision and dreams as vast as the heavens. If you will not obey, the doors remain shut. Obedience is the key that turns potential into reality, that transforms forms calling into fulfillment, that moves a person from wandering into walking the appointed path. When God calls, he does not ask for perfection, he asks for obedience. Abraham obeyed, and it was counted to him as righteousness. Noah obeyed, and humanity was preserved through the flood. Moses obeyed, and a nation was led out of bondage. Joshua obeyed, and the walls of Jericho fell. Every miracle of destiny was tied to an act of obedience. Without obedience, the promise remains a shadow. With obedience, the promise becomes flesh and blood reality. Obedience is not always easy because it rarely aligns with human logic. It asks you to walk when you cannot see the road, to speak when you feel unworthy, to act when fear tells you to stay silent. It stretches you beyond the limits of comfort because purpose lies beyond comfort. When Peter was told to step out of the boat, it made no sense to the natural mind, yet in obedience he walked on water. When the widow was told to pour her last oil into borrowed jars, it seemed foolish, yet in obedience her provision overflowed. Obedience opens what the natural eye cannot see, for obedience aligns you with the supernatural of God. Many long for purpose, but resist obedience. They pray for direction, yet hesitate when the answer comes. They desire greatness only on their own terms. But destiny does not bend to the will of man. It is unlocked by obedience to the will of God. Delayed obedience is disobedience, and partial obedience is no obedience at all. Door will not open halfway. It opens when the key is fully turned, when surrender is complete, when the answer is yes without reservation. The truth is that obedience is not about rules. It is about alignment. It is the alignment of your will with the will of the one who created you. When your steps align with his word, when your choices align with his command, you walk in a flow greater than your own strength. Purpose is not something you create. It is something you enter, and the entrance is obedience. Without obedience, you live chasing shadows. With obedience, you walk in light. Obedience is the evidence of faith. It is faith in action, faith made visible, faith that proves itself real. Words without obedience are empty. Belief without obedience is powerless. When faith obeys, mountains move, seas part, giants fall, destinies are fulfilled. The door does not open to the hesitant or the half-hearted. It opens to the obedient. And once it opens, what waits on the other side is greater than anything could be imagined apart from God's command. Listen today, life forever changed. Every moment in life carries a seed. Not every moment carries the weight of eternity. There are moments that pass like the wind, forgotten as quickly as they came. And then there are moments that mark you, moments that divide your life into before and after. To listen today is to recognize that this moment is not ordinary, that this word is not just another sound in the air. This call has the power to alter the course of your future. What you choose to hear and respond to today will shape the story of tomorrow, and tomorrow will echo into forever. The difference between those who walk in destiny and those who drift in regret is not chance, but response. The ones who listened were changed. When Samuel heard his name in the night and answered, he stepped into a life that carried the voice of God to a nation. When Peter left his nets at the sound of "Follow me," his entire existence was rewritten from fisherman to apostle. When Paul fell to the ground and listened to the voice of Jesus, the persecutor of the church became its greatest messenger. Each of them could have turned away. Each of them could have dismissed the voice. They listened, and in listening, they were changed forever. To listen is more than to hear with the ears. It is to open the heart, to silence the distractions. Let the word sink deeper than the noise of life. Many hear, but do not listen. They nod, they acknowledge, they move on unchanged. But to truly listen is to let the word take root, to let it confront let it stir, to let it transform. A heart that listens today will not remain the same tomorrow, because the word of God never leaves you as it found you. Are people who spend their entire lives waiting for a great moment, never realizing that the great moment is the one they choose to listen. The power of change is not in a far off future. It is in the present decision to hear and obey. A single word listened to and acted upon can redirect an entire life. A single call responded to can break chains that have lasted for generations. A single choice to listen today can unlock blessings that ripple through eternity. Yet many refuse to listen. They harden their hearts. They cover their ears. They let pride, fear, or distraction steal the moment. And because they will not listen today, they remain trapped in cycles that were never meant to define them. They long for change, but refuse the very word that brings it. The tragedy is not that they cannot change, but that they chose not to listen when the call came. Listen today, because today is the doorway. Listen today, because today is the moment when destiny draws near. Listen today, because tomorrow is not promised, and yesterday cannot be reclaimed. To listen now is to take hold of the life that was meant for you, the life written before time began, the life that only awakens when the call is answered. To listen today is to live forever changed.